Hello and welcome to Rita's Paper Motif. I'm Rita and today I want to share with you 5 different ways that I've used the stamp set that's called Hello Ladybug. So stay tuned with me. We're going to make a card and then I'll show you some samples. Before we get started, just quickly, as always, I need to share that the tutorial for the card we're going to make will be by 3 o'clock this afternoon at ritaspapermotif.com. You'll have the opportunity to watch it video style as well. So know that that's there. Now, before we get started, also I want to say that if you are watching this either live or on the replay at YouTube, on YouTube, then please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking that bell icon, and then you'll be notified of any new content that I upload. Also, if you're watching me live here on Facebook, a nice shout out hello is welcome. But also remember that those likes and hearts are also a good thing for my business page. So just know that going in. And then I just did want to also share with you that you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter there on the home page at ritaspapermotif.com. All right, let's go ahead and get started. It is no secret that we are getting new catalogs. The mini catalog, all of the items in here will either be continuing on in the new annual catalog or will retire. Now, you will have, as a customer, you'll have the opportunity to view that catalog and to make purchases starting in May. However, if you're a demonstrator, you get a little heads up or a little time to pre-order, and so that's all. If you're interested in that kind of thing of not only getting to participate in a pre-order, but to get your product at a discounted rate, then by all means, I welcome you to join my team, and then you can take advantage of all those perks. I'm not going to go through the catalogs today because, first of all, this is a big change, at least in my opinion. There are some items that may not be retiring in the annual catalog, but will be it'll be revamped as to how they're presented in the new catalog. So it might be that they won't be bundles anymore. The dies might be the only thing retiring, that kind of thing. So I would be happy, and I'm planning to flip through the catalog and discuss all of those things Tuesday here live on Facebook. So if that's something you're interested in, then please join me. I believe I'll just let you know what the time that I'm going to be doing that, what the time frame would be. But for today, we're not going to cover it. But just, I want to say, and I do say this often, but the items that I can see in the new annual catalog are right up my alley. They are just, they're wonderful. So I'm excited about that. And in April, I would be sharing some of that product with you here live as well. So let's move on. The one thing that I did want to share with you are the colors or the inks that are going to be changing, and the ones that are going to be retiring. So why I'm sharing this with you is because if you like these colors, now would be the time to order them, because they're on the last chance list and they're anywhere from 20% to 40% off. So why not take advantage of that? The other thing is that, you know, things in general, product in general has the prices increased across the board for everything. And so we may see some increases in this new catalog. Again, I haven't looked through it thoroughly to see what those changes might be. But I did want to tell you that it is across the board. But those of us that love this hobby, paper crafting, it is worth it. So let's get on with those colors. So I wanted to tell you, Pale Papaya will be retiring. And that isn't a secret because Pale Papaya is one of the in colors that would retire. So our in colors last for 2 years. So every other year, you know, we have. So if the color it goes into our catalog this year, in 2 years it's going to retire. That's how it has been. That's how it is. So Pale Papaya is expiring or retiring. Polished Pink is retiring. Mango Melody is retiring. And I'm very sad to say Pacific Point is retiring. Oh my gosh, I love Pacific Point. You know what? There's not a better color for a skyscape than Pacific Point. And of course, we know that Evening Evergreen is expiring because it was an in color. And here's a very popular color that I'm thinking there are many. Muta Bay, Pear Pizzazz, So Saffron, Mint Macaron, Blushing Bride. I'm going to move these up so we can squish in some more. And let's see, there is Mary Merlot, Sahara Sand. But I really like Sahara Sand. It's kind of a delicate color, even though it's a grayish. I'm kind of sad to see that go. And then there's Soft Suede. Who would have thought that, right? And then there is Rich Razzleberry. And then, of course, the Soft Succulent. Now, we know that the Pale Papaya, the Polished Pink, the Soft Succulent, the Evening Evergreen, those are all in colors. But these are colors that are also retiring because there's some great colors that are going to be taking their place. So I do know that the Blushing Bride is going to be replaced by a gorgeous, it's called Bubble Bath. So it's a very nice pink. We're able to keep Blackberry Bliss, so you know, that's a good alternative for the Rich Razzleberry and the Mary Merlot. So anyway, these are the colors that are going to be retiring, but they will be replaced with new colors. And so that's exciting to see. Now, all these colors are going to be available. The new colors will be available to you in May. So, you know, you can look forward to that. But if these colors are something you want to keep in your inventory, I would suggest you go get them now. They are on sale, like I said. Some are 20 to 40% off because I have a feeling that they're going to go quickly. So we just did hear about all the last chance list and the new colors yesterday around 3 o'clock. So, you know, people haven't maybe had a chance to wipe out those colors, but they will soon. So my suggestion is go get them while you can. Now, you know that we have more than 4 colors in our in colors, right? But the Fresh Freesia is going to be returning, and so that'll be a great thing with that. And I'm glad because I use Fresh Freesia like no tomorrow. All right. So let's get on with our card. What I wanted to show you is how I created this card. And I call this card Friendly Ladybug. What I like about it is I feel kind of like it's a clean card, but it also has a little bit of whimsy and a lot of interest, and you really could change it up. So let's talk about how I made that, and we'll make it together, and then I'm going to show you some alternatives. So I started out with this is 4 1/4 by 11 inch basic white, piece of basic white. And then of course, you know, I folded it over. I have to tell you, I'm so spoiled because I really like to use my trimmer to fold my cards. That way I'm sure that they will be straight And then I can just take my bone folder and secure that fold. And there we go. We're good to go. All right. So I started out with a A2 size top folding basic white base, card base. And then I cut out of the Real Red. This is a 4" by 5 1/4 layer. And then I took another piece of basic white, and this is 3 3/4 by 5, and I ran it through the embossing, my cut and emboss machine, and I used the dot embossing folder from the dots and checks embossing folder. So this is a great thing. Embossing folders are a great way to add texture to your card. And so that's what I did with this. Now, as we're talking about this, let's go ahead and just put our card together. I am going to be using a liquid glue to put this layer on, and I got my glue bottles mixed up, so give me a moment while I find the one that's going to be our friend today. Sometimes these, here we go. Hopefully this is it. Let's see here. My goodness. We will use this bottle of liquid glue. It's meant to be used for those small or narrow spaces, but we'll just use it today. And then we're going to want to place this textured layer right here on our Real Red layer. I try to center it as best I can, and with that liquid glue you do have a little bit of time to manipulate it if you need to. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to place this layer on our card base. And that just helps because we closer to completing our card. And this is why it's good to use liquid glue, because you can definitely manipulate your card so that you get it right where it's supposed to go. All right, so there is our layers are glued down. Then I took, let me get all my stuff out of here, out of this little bag that I keep it in. I took some strips of black and red, and I just laid them here. So this one is about 1/2 inch. And the reason that it's long, I know, but we can cut it down so that it fits right as we want it. And that's too much glue. Let's see here. So I like so that it lines up with the Real Red layer, and then we'll just put it on there. And then I did cut some strips of Real Red. So this one is about, so this is 1/2 inch, this is 1/4 inch, and I'm going to lay that down by the black cardstock, the basic black. I wanted these different widths because that's part of the interest I think that it brings to the card. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a white, an area where you can see the white card layer. And then I had I cut a thinner piece of the Real Red to put right here. Now, I wanted it different widths because, again, I want your eye to be interested in the differences. So sometimes, you know, it's great to have things that are uniform. I like uniform. But sometimes when we have things that are just a little different, it really does create that interest in our card. And so, so now we have our strips, and what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to cut those off. Not only would it bug me to be seeing them, but let's just cut them off. And I'm cutting them off. I'm using that red layer as a guide. And both sides, I'm going to bring it closer. Please forgive me. But I'm going to bring it closer so that I can make sure those are cut. And we're just going to go ahead and put this in the garbage. And so now you'll see something in this card, and that is the ladybug. And I am so excited because we have a punch. It's called the Ladybug Punch, and it is it's called the Lady Punch Builder, and it is awesome because you can. On this side, you can cut your ladybug a body. So I punched it out of black cardstock. You could stamp it with the stamp set if you wanted to. You could stamp it and then punch it out if you wanted to. But I kind of like the how the black cardstock is more solid than maybe a stamped image. So I have that. And then the other thing that I did is it's going to need these wings. And so I'm going to take my stamp, my ladybug stamp, and I'm going to take those wings, that stamp that is the wings, and I'm going to stamp that in my Memento ink. So let's see here. And I'm going to stamp it on the red, the real red. And I'm remembering that I don't really want to punch the real red in this ladybug shape. So I see to be a little more accurate with the cardstock is that if I punch it this way, I don't lose a lot of cardstock. So remembering that, I'm just going to go ahead and put my cardstock right here, and we'll ink up the wings here. These are the dots because we're stamping that on red, and we're going to use the punch to punch out the red. Now, if you were stamping, say you were stamping the wings onto, like you were using red to stamp the wings, then you would, of course, stamp it on the white, and then you would still stamp the black dots as well. But this, to me, is much easier, and I'm happier with the end result. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up in my punch and go ahead and punch those wings, and that is going to fit on my ladybug body right here. So I'm not going to do anything with this. Yeah, we can. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I am going to use my seal. I am going to go ahead and use the seal and to adhere the wings onto my ladybug. And then I am going to use dimensionals because I want that ladybug, I want it up, I want it elevated. So I'm going to use 3 dimensionals. And because the wing is here, it's okay if the dimensionals overlap on the wing. And then I'm going to peel off the wax paper or the release paper on the dimensionals. I love ladybugs. You know, they're to me, they're a sign of new life, of spring. And when I was teaching, I loved to do the life cycle of the butterfly. Butterfly and the ladybug. So that was just a very cool thing. And then also when we were little, it was always kind of shared that if a ladybug landed on your hand and you could make a wish and then let the ladybug go, that you would get your wish. So I think it's kind of it just brings back good memories, the ladybug does. So anyway, let's continue here. Let me know how you feel if you like ladybugs. What I also did was I took this punch, the big leaf punch, and I'm going to give you a hint. This works best if you use your Stamparatus because I think it's the, you know, where it shows the veins and stuff. It was for me. I had to stamp several times to get a solid stamp here. But I think you would have, and you would be more consistent if you used your Stamparatus to stamp the leaf. And I am going to tell you about the Stamparatus that is on the last chance list. It is a tool that's going to be retiring. I'm not sure in the future if there'll be another tool that will take its place. A tool positioner, I don't know if there's going to be another one, but there isn't one in the new catalog. So if you have been putting the Stamparatus on a back burner, now would be the time to get it, because once it goes, it's gone. And I'm telling you, I do believe that's one of the things that's going to fly off the shelf. So again, the Stamparatus is going to be retiring. It will not be in the new catalog. So if you want it, get it now. All right. So what I did was I stamped that leaf on some basic white. And here's what I thought. I like to layer my, I like to have layers on my cards. So what I thought I would do two, and then I would layer them. So that's what I did. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to glue them together because I am going to use some dimensionals to put them on my card. But of course I want to glue them together to get that layer. And I could have just cut out some white, but here's what I'll tell you. I always leave a little white when I'm fussy cutting my ephemera, but I wanted to stamp that green underneath just because. And here's another thing, that was my first try at stamping that stamp. So when I told you I would use my Stamparatus, guess how I know that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and use some dimensionals for my card, to put it on my card. And then we'll put that up in the corner of the card. And it slipped on me here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, here we go. We'll take off the release paper. One thing about stamping our own ephemera is that, you know, if you don't get a good stamp the first time, you can actually turn that paper over and stamp again, and that's perfectly okay. No one will ever know. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and layer the leaf right there. And then you can see on my other card that I have like half of a daisy. And so I did take the daisy stamp. I used the memento. You could use any color you want, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to keep my card down to just a few basic colors and repeat them. So since black is on here and there is a lot of white, I decided to do it in the memento ink. And then I stamped and cut out the daisy. Then I simply just cut that daisy in half. So if you're making 2 cards, you have another part of that. And then I did not prop this, I did not elevate this up with dimensionals. I just glued it because we have a lot of dimension already on the card. And I just lined that up at the edge of the white layer. And so now it just gives the card a little bit more interest. Many times when I feel like my card is missing something, I will put a banner or some adhesive backed dots of some kind on there. I will do that sometimes. So this kind of takes the place of that. All right, so what we're missing is a sentiment. And this stamp set has quite a few sentiments, but I really wanted something that kind of would follow the lines on the card. And I felt like all these sentiments might get lost. So I went to where I usually go when I'm looking for a sentiment. I went to the biggest Wish stamp set. And I'm grabbing that because we need to stamp it, of course. I went to the Biggest Wish stamp set and I stamped Friends. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see here. And we're going to use our memento again. And then just any piece of scrap paper that you have will be fine. I hope you're liking this card. Let me know if you like this. I will tell you that the Hello Ladybug is not retiring, so that is a good thing. I went ahead and stamped Friend on here, and then as you can tell, I fussy cut that out, so let's go ahead and do that. It won't take long. And when I'm fussy cutting my sentiments out, I like to go around it just to give it the curve that you would see when you're looking at the word. And that also reminds me of, you know, when we teach handwriting, we teach the letters as tall letters, small letters, and descending letters. And so I think that that's something that we remember as a child when we're when they used to teach handwriting. We remember that, and so cutting it kind of around the letters just brings back that familiarity to me. Let's see. Gosh, it is kind of hard to cut when you're so far away from what you're cutting. And as you get older and your eyes get a little more needy, you really do notice it. Okay, there we go. So let me just make sure I like this. I want to kind of clean it up a little. And now you can use dimensionals if you want to. I just feel like I've used plenty of dimensional. So, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it. And with my liquid glue. And I'm just going to put it right here on the bottom. I also think that this sentiment balances that. I like it. All right, so let me know if you like this card. This is what I did with the inside. I took the other half of that flower, and then I had some strips left over, and so that's just what I put in the inside. And you can stamp it with any sentiment you want on the inside. All right, so we've made this card together. I call that the Hello Ladybug card, but I wanted to show you some more cards. And then I did want to tell you, you could always decorate this card with the black dots, black matte dots. And that's something I want to tell you too. Next Tuesday, when we look at the last chance and go through the catalog, you're going to hear over and over how, what a steal the embellishments are and the ribbon. So, you know, maybe you should get out paper and pencils so you can make your wish list, because I think you're going to find that now would be a good time to stock up. All right, so we made this today, this card today. I also made this card. Now you're going to be seeing the flowers here. So that was like my homemade designer series paper. And I did use the color and contour die. Not die, I'm sorry, stamp set. And I used this flower. I used it in the black memento. And I just did it all over that layer, which is obviously... well, it's a little less than 3 3/4 because as you can see, I have the black layer, the red layer, and then this layer. So I just, you know, did it randomly with this stamp and created that background. And I took the leaf, I did stamp it, and then I cut it out and I put my sentiment strip there. I also used some twine for interest, and then I used the different ladybug. I used this ladybug that is like walking, and I stamped 3 of them here, and then I just layered that on some real red cardstock, and then I positioned that close to the black layer on the card, so I didn't really need a strip of black, but up here I did add a strip of black, and so that's this one. And you really could do any of the color of ladybugs. I've seen someone do ladybugs in the blues, the pink, so it's really up to you. A lot of ladybugs that I've seen as a child are either kind of an orangish or a reddish. But when we're doing cards, you can definitely invent your own, right? Because it's all about whimsy and we can be as creative as we want. And then on the inside, I did adhere another leaf, and then I did the sentiment that comes from that stamp set, which is may your greatest wish come true. And this is how I decorated the inside. And for the envelope, I would just take the ladybug and just stamp it there on the front, so it just kind of gives it some, kind of lets people know what they're opening, right? And then I did 2 of these cards, and I'll tell you why I did 2. Of course, I used the punch because we know how fun and easy the punch is. I punched out the ladybug. And I used, this is Cajun Craze. This cardstock is Cajun Craze. Created 2. I used my circle dies to cut the hole in the card, and I do want to tell you that too. Very sad to say that our layering circle dies are going to retire. So again, if you're thinking about them, now is the time to get them. I use them all the time. I'm really not sure that I can, I'm thinking I'm probably going to keep my circles. They're going to be like in my a permanent part of my studio. But just to let you know, if you want them, now is the time to get them. I do believe that's another thing that's going to go quickly. Anyway, so I cut a hole in the Cajun Craze in the front part here. I layered my ladybug on the inside, and then of course my sentiment. I did take a strip. This is an inch. The black is an inch wide by almost 5.5. And then I took a strip of white, basic white. Again, I used that embossing folder with the dots, adhered it on, and then I used both black and white twine, kind of as like a ribbon thing. I originally thought I was going to use ribbon, but when I put ribbon on here, it was like too much. It was too heavy for me. So I just used the twine. Now here's one that I did with no bling or didn't glam it up. I did use a different bubble, but it seemed kind of plain to me. So on this one, I just took out my buttons, and I took out 3 white buttons and just glued them on here. So know that you can use a lot of things that you would maybe have in your sewing or craft room and use them together. It does create some interest. So there's those 2 cards. And then I thought, you know what? I've seen it before, and I decided I would try it. I actually have done it before myself. Is I went ahead and punched a black body, and then I punched again a yellow, and what I did was I made a bee. And then with the leaves, I just punched some vellum here and just put those on there. I didn't need dots or anything. There is some vellum you can use for layering that is printed if you wanted to, and that might create a design on the wings if you wanted to. But I also took from the shape dies, I took and cut something that resembled an octagon. So this would be like the honeycomb, and there's the bee. And then of course I used some black. These are stars that I've had for a while. They came with a paper pumpkin, but you could definitely use your black matte dots to just give it a little bling. And then I did use the sentiment. This comes from the Simply Marvelous stamp set, and it says hooray for you. So there's 2 different stamps that I stamped so that it looks like one stamp. So that's what I did with this card. And then on the inside, on the bottom, I just did a black, a strip of basic black. What I like about this is that it's a good way to use up some scraps. So that was great for that. Then I created another bumblebee card. And what I did is I took the Hollyhock stamp set. I'm trying to think of the name because I don't have it here. But I did take the Hollyhock stamp set, and I stamped this out of the polished pink. And then I just kind of colored it in with my markers, the Daffodil Delight. And then I used some of the sending dies to cut out like the stems, and I just put those in there. On the bottom of the card is the first layer. I guess I'm deconstructing here. On the bottom part, I took my blending brush with some Pacific Point and just did a little coloring on there just to give it a little pizzazz. And also you'll see some more matte dots that are here. And then the bee. And then I used the sending die to... I did not. I am sorry, it's not the die, it's the sending stamps. And I stamped out sending, and then I heat embossed this sentiment from the sending stamps that says a card to say hello. And then I left the inside a little bit blank, thinking about what I might want to do with that. But I would probably put a flower and then whatever sentiment. So these are some ways that I've used the Ladybug Builder Punch, the Hello Ladybug stamp set, and then of course I pulled out other things in my use for different cards, to create different cards. So I just wanted to share these with you today. I'll tell you, I am surprised that the Ladybug stamp is not retiring, because we've had it for a while, but it must be super popular. And so that is a good thing. All right, so thank you so much for spending time with me. Again, I just wanted to remind you that those likes and heart buttons are a great thing. Go ahead and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And then I did also want to tell you that the ultimate compliment is for you to share the video with your crafty friends. And I will be back this next Tuesday. We'll do a live and we'll flip through the catalog and we'll talk about what's retiring, because not everything is retiring. Some things are being presented. So maybe the die from a bundle, maybe the die would be retiring, but the stamp set will still be available. The other thing to consider is, and we'll talk about this on Tuesday, there are some bundles that are on the last chance list that are cheaper if you buy them separately. So normally I tell you to buy them together because you save, but in some instances, like on the last chance list, you may find that they're cheaper if you separate them. So I'll see you back on Tuesday. I'll let you know what time we're going to have that live. So just keep watching for the time. And as always, thank you. Have a great day and a great weekend. Bye now.